My friends, I told you how exciting this is, and I told you it was going to be juicy. And before we talk about licensing, I'm bringing out the juice. Carrot, ginger, that is juicy. This is what's up with licensing agreements. They are wonderful. If you're the one who owns the information and the rights to the property that you are licensing out to somebody else, you are in wonderful shape, and this is really where your business is going to the next level. Before we talk too much about licensing, it's a word that we use, but really what it means is letting somebody else use your property. In this case, the property that we're talking about can either be a trademark or a copyright or another aspect of your business which belongs to you. Remember, I started this lesson off and this module off by talking about the importance of branding. So what happens is when you start a business and no one really knows about it and no one really cares about it, no one would pay anything for it. So you could go, if you just start something and you go to someone, you're like, hey, do you want to use my trademark or my logo or this manual that I wrote for your own business? People would look at you like you're a little bit crazy and maybe you've had too much juice, and maybe you did. But what also happens is over time, your brand becomes recognizable and people see it on Instagram for a while, and then you do Facebook Lives or you do all the different things that you do, and suddenly this brand, which is the same image or word that you started out with, 3 years later people are like, oh my God, I need it, I want it. Like how can I be a part of it? And how I work with a lot of clients is helping them set up the rights in their brand from the beginning, and then over time as they grow it, what happens is they can go and license that branding out to someone else because suddenly the brand has value. And when the brand has value, other people are willing to pay for it. And what licensing is that agreement which outlines the terms of how you are going to let someone use the property that you own and what the specific terms around it are. Because remember, okay, I'm letting someone else use my logo or my manual or my method, whatever it is, but I want to make sure that I still have brand integrity. And brand integrity means like, okay, everybody in the world doesn't necessarily know that we have this agreement, but I want to make sure that my property is being used in alignment with my values and with my business ideals and my ethos and how I want to conduct business. Now we're getting to a point where people realize, whoa, there's a lot of value and I could actually make money myself by using this brand and doing a similar offering under similar circumstances. I'm willing to pay you in order to use that trademarked logo or that copyrighted manual. And that's a really juicy place to be. And so I'm going to start off by telling you a story about one of my clients who I'm extremely proud of, who I've gone with from the beginning of ideation to execution to registration of a trademark and ultimately to licensing. So this client has a unique yoga offering. And what she does is she does yoga classes in a particular way that's different from other yoga classes. Enough to the point that you'd go to that class and you'd be like, I've never experienced something like this. And this is so much better. And sort of the conversation happened when I went to that class and this instructor and I, who's now a client and friend, struck up a relationship, and I was like, this is really cool and you should actually expand to cities across North America. So now we're coming back to that concept of scaling and growing. So here's this one yoga teacher who's got a really cool idea that's based in this part of the world, but people all over the place would love to use it. So how can we do it? Really simple. What we did is we started by establishing and registering a trademark. Very, very cool name. I'm not going to share. I didn't get my client's permission to share, so I won't share what the name is, but a super, super cool name, and the client's using it and we love it. So what we've done is we've registered a trademark because I met her about 1 year into her having the business. So it wasn't brand new. The name on its own wouldn't really fly, but it's a clever name and it's very cute. And as a result, other people will want it. So we meet, first things first, wicked. Let's register this trademark, I love it. Then we're like, okay, natural next step, how can we grow it? And the decision was to write a teacher training or a teacher manual. This is very, very classic in the yoga and health and wellness business. You come up with a particular method, you make it unique, you describe it in content as much as possible, and you put it in a format that you can actually share and scale with others. So once the teacher manual was created, this yogi went across different cities and began offering teacher trainings with the copyright. So what we did is we wrote the teacher manual, we registered that for copyright. Again, we get a certificate which basically says the Intellectual Property Office or the Patent and Trade Office acknowledges that this has been submitted for copyright. We have a certificate. And what's great about this certificate is that it outlines very, very specifically what content is covered under copyright in that particular name. So we called it the blank teacher training course. And now anyone who uses it acknowledges that, okay, if I'm letting you use it, I do not own it. Company X is the full owner and has full copyright in it. And if I use it, I'm only allowed to use it within certain ways, which were outlined in the teacher training. So now we've got a really sweet brand that's protected by trademark. We've also got a teacher training manual that's been registered for copyright, and we're getting to the licensing point. So how does the licensing point happen? First year of this client's business, super cool idea, but in one or two studios, not really having leverage, or people don't really have brand recognition. Over time, it catches on, it's growing. Suddenly, different studios and different teachers are saying, I love this particular method, and I think that a studio in my town would greatly benefit from having it. Will you allow me to use both the manual and the information contained in the manual and the logo in order to grow my own business in my particular town? And that's when we get to a licensing agreement. So a licensing agreement says the person who owns the information or the property says, okay, cool, I'm gonna let you use this, but in accordance with using it, you have to follow the rules that I say. And that's so big. And there are so many different elements of a licensing agreement and things to turn your mind to that maybe automatically you wouldn't think about. So the first is, okay, brand integrity. How can I protect, or how can I put measures into an agreement that will explicitly state, yes, I'm using this, it doesn't belong to me, and I'm only allowed to use it to do A, B, C, D, E, F. Not allowed to use it for anything else. Second thing is the term. How long am I letting you use it for? Most importantly, how can I terminate? What if you use it not in accordance with the way that we agreed? Can I rely on the document in order to ensure that you stop using it, you stop running these classes, that I'm in control of my own brand? Because we're letting them use it, but we're not transferring ownership of the property to them. In addition to that, things you want to think about is, how are you getting paid? So now, there's a couple of different ways to do this. And I just want you to turn your mind to this. Remember, the purpose of this course is for you to turn your mind to different questions and find a way to communicate your expectations for those questions in a document. So getting paid can work a couple ways. Sometimes it's a fixed fee. So it's going to be $1,000 per month for a period of 2 years, and that is exactly how long it is. After 2 years, we can renegotiate, but I know that on the first of every month, I'm getting a check for $1,000 from you. Sometimes that works, sometimes that doesn't work. Another way that this can happen is if people give you a percentage of the business. So usually the person who's paying for the license would prefer this. There's no out-of-pocket expense to them, and it can be more lucrative than if you just receive a fixed fee. But the things that you want to be aware of in doing this is, how are you able to monitor what those person's sales are? Do you have a relationship with this person? Do you trust them? Is there an objective way to observe their business or have your accountant review their books to ensure that you are getting paid everything that you should? In addition to this, other terms to consider are whether or not the license is exclusive or not exclusive. What an exclusive license means is, I'm licensing this material or property out to you and nobody else is allowed to use it. I'm only giving it to you. Then you can invest all of your energy, you can put everything you want into that. A non-exclusive license happens when you give someone your property or your information and you say to them, look, I'm letting you use this property or this information, but I'm actually gonna let other people do that too. And again, what happens with agreements, remember, There's no good agreements. There's not bad agreements. There are only agreements which reflect the intentions of the parties. And there are only agreements which actually reflect your expectations in a particular relationship. So in addition to thinking about whether or not the license will be exclusive or not exclusive, meaning other people can use it or you're giving it only to one person to use, you'd usually want to come around with an area to say like, okay, I'm going to let a lot of different people use this, but no one within 300 kilometers from you will be able to use it. And that is it's a great way to form a relationship and provide licensing to people because it allows everyone to sort of build their own nest around what they're doing in their licensing. So the big things that I want you to remember for licensing are that you can only license what you properly and clearly own. And this is where the trademarking and the copyright processes really pay off and are really helpful for you in building passive income or getting to a point of having a brand or value of brand that is so worthwhile that someone is willing to pay for. Within the agreement itself, the important things you're going to want to figure out are how long does this last? How am I getting paid? What are the rules around using it? How can I revoke my license? How can I ensure and enforce the withdrawal of any rights that I've given you? How can I ensure that I'm not transferring the property over to you? And also within the relationship, are you the only one using it? Are other people allowed to use it? What are the jurisdictional bases? How are you using it? Because ultimately, licensing is, look, it's this. This is what we're talking about. We're talking about juice. You're chilling, you're either working 9 to 5 or doing whatever you do with your life while someone else is actually out there working for and with you at the same time. So we love licenses. I know that it's a super important part of business, and what I love sharing about it is just prompting the important questions to make sure that everything that you're doing is in accordance with your brand, it's in accordance with your values, and also that you're getting paid appropriately for what you're doing. And that's licensing.